for making a precision measuring instrument is nickel steel. A small percentage of boron is added to steel in order to increasing hardenability. Which of the following material has nearly zero coefficient of expansion? Invert. Chromium when added to steel, the tensile strength increases. Vanadium when added to steel increases tensile strength. Tungsten when added to steel, the critical temperature rises. The missionability of steel is improved by adding sulfur, lead and phosphorus. The presence of hydrogen in steel causes embrittlement. Corrosion resistance of steel is increased by adding nickel and chromium. Agree. Hardness of steel is increased by adding sulfur, lead and phosphorus. No. Shock resistance of steel is increased by adding nickel and chromium. The nickel widely used for motor car crankshaft is chrome steel. The silicon steel is widely used for generators and transformers in the form of laminated cores. The cutting tools are made from high-speed steel. Which of the following gives the correct order of increasing hardness cutting tool material? High-speed steel and carbide diamond. Kiln steels are free from oxygen. An alloy steel which work hardens, the which used to make blades of bulldozers, bucket, wheel excavator and other earth moving equipments contains iron carbon manganese. Connecting rod is usually made from medium carbon steel. The alloying element which can replace tungsten at high speed steels is the molybdenum. Free cutting steel is used where rapid machining is the prime requirement. Bell bearings are usually made from chrome steel. Shock resisting steel should have toughness. The alloy mainly used for corrosion resistance stainless steel is chromium. The nuts and bolts are made from a silicon steel bronze. The alloying element which reduces the formation of iron sulfide steel is manganese. The alloying element which increases resistance magnetism, corrosive magnetic force in steel magnet is cobalt. The main alloying elements high speed steel in order to increasing proportions are vanadium, chromium, tungsten. The blade of power saw is made of high speed steel. High speed steel vanadium adds the property of red hardness, tungsten and chromium add to high wear resistance. True. The high speed steel has percentage of tungsten maximum 18:4:1. High speed steel contains vanadium 1%, chromium 4% and tungsten 18%. A steel containing 12 to 14% chromium and 0.1 to 0.35 carbon is called Martens stainless steel. True. A steel containing 14 to 18% of nickel and about 0.12% carbon is called the ferric stainless steel. The austenite steels contains 18% of chromium and 8% of nickel. Mild steel, commercial beams, tool steel, blanking dies, medium carbon steel, screwdrivers, high carbon steel and crane hooks. 18/18 stainless steel consisting of 18% chromium and 8% nickel. The material in which the atoms are arranged chaotically is called as amorphous material. The material in which atoms are arranged regularly in some direction but no others is called as mesoformous materials. In a crystalline material, atoms are arranged in definite and orderly manner and form of agree. Which of the following is amorphous material? Glass. Which of the following is mesoporous materials? Is mica. The unit cells is all of the above. The unit cell of a body, centered cubic space lattice, there are atoms, it is 9. There are 14 atoms in a unit cell is the face centered cubic space lattice. In a unit cell of closed hexagonal space lattice with 24 atoms is wrong. In a face centered cubic space lattice there are 14 atoms of which of atoms is located in the corner cubes atoms are the center of 6 cells. A body centered cubic space lattice is the 4, 8 located the corners of cube atoms in the center. Yes. In closed packed hexagonal space lattice there is none of this above. The type of space lattice found in a alpha iron is body center cubic space lattice. The type of space lattice found in a gamma iron is just face center cubic space lattice. A body center cubic space lattice is found in alpha iron, tungsten, chromium and molybdenum. Face center cubic space lattice is the found gamma iron, aluminum, copper, lead, silver and nickel is true. Closed packed hexagonal space lattice is found on zinc, manganese, cobalt, canadium, antimony and bismuth. The coordination number of phase entered cubic space lattice is 12. The ratio of the volume occupied by the atoms to the total volume of the unit cell is called atomic packing factor. The bond formed by transferring electrons from the one atom is another is called ionic bond. Which of the following solids are malleable and ductility malleability solids? The defect which takes place due to imperfect packing of atoms during crystallization known as point defect. Which of the following point imperfection is all of this? Dye penetrate method is generally used in the locate surface defects. Which of the following statement is true about brittle material? Brittle fracture. Many metals with hexagonal close package structure commonly show brittle structure. Specify the sequence of correctly. Stress relief, recrystallization, grain growth. Macro structure of material is generally examined by naked eye. Microstructure of a material is generally examined by none of this. Crystal structure of a material is generally examined by X-ray techniques. When low carbon steel is heated up to upper critical temperature, the average grain size is minimum. When you lucky, when a medium carbon steel is heated coarse temperature, the grain size increases very rapidly. When a low carbon steel is heated up to lower critical temperature, there is no change in grain size. The quenching of steel from the upper critical point results in fine grain structure. Agree. The slow cooling of steels from the result coarse grain structure is the upper critical point. A material is said to be elliptical if it is different crystal structure at different temperatures. A fine grained steel is more ductile, has the less tendency to distortion during the heat treatment. A coarse grained steel is less tough, a greater tendency to distort during heat treatment. Which of the following iron exists in 910 degrees centigrade? Alpha iron. Which of the following iron exists between 910 degrees to 1400 degrees? Gamma iron. The delta iron possesses a body center cubic space lattice is correct. The perlite is a combination of 87% of ferrite and 13% cementate. Yes. The hardness of steel depends upon the amount of cementate it contains. The hardness of steel increases if it contains cementate. A steel with 0.8% carbon is known as ectotite steel. Ectotite reaction occurs at 723 degrees centigrade. A steel with carbon is known as hypoectotite steel below 0.8%. A steel with carbon above 0.8% known as hyperactotite steel. Agree. The lower critical temperature is same for all steels. Gamma iron occurs between the temperature range 900 degrees to 1400 degrees centigrade. Delta iron occurs between the temperature range 1400 degrees to 153 degrees. The temperature point at which change starts of heating in steel is called the lower critical point. The temperature point at which change in ends heating in steel is called upper critical point. The lower critical point in steel is 720 degrees centigrade. The upper critical point varies according to the carbon content. Steel is true. For a steel containing 0.8% carbon, there is only one critical point. The essentially constituent of a hardened steel is martensite. Iron carbon Li containing 1.7 to 4.3% carbon are known as hypoactivated cast iron. Iron carbon Li is containing 4.3% carbon are known as hypoactivated cast iron is wrong. Iron carbon Li is containing carbon 4.3% are known as hyperactivated cast iron is more than. A steel with 0.8% carbon and 100% perlite is called actinic steel. An actinic steel consists of wholly perlite. Perlite consists of perlite consists of 13% cemented and 18% of ferrite. Cemented consists of 6.67% carbon and 93.3% iron. Hyperactivated steel is the 0.008 to 0.8. Hyperactivated steel is the 0.8 to 20. Hypoactivated cast iron B is the 1.7 to 4.3. Hyperactivated cast iron A is the 4.3 to 6.67. Which of the following sets of consistency is expected in equilibrium cooling at a hyperactivated steel from austenite state is cementate and perlite. If steel containing less than 0.8% carbon is cooled slowly from temperature above or within the critical range, it consists of ferrite and perlite. When a steel containing 0.8% carbon is cooled slowly below the lower critical point, is consists of ferrite and perlite is the less than. When a steel containing more than 0.8% carbon is cooled slowly below the lower critical point, is consisting of perlite and cementate. The austenite is a solid solution of carbon or iron carbide. Gamma iron is correct. The maximum solubility of a carbon arsenate 1.7 to 1130 degrees centigrade. Yes. Which of the following statement is wrong? A mechanical mixture of 87% cementate and 13% ferrite is called perlite. A steel containing ferrite and perlite is soft. The purpose of heat treatment is dash any one of these. A normalizing of a steel is done to all of the above. The normalizing process of hyperheated steel heated 30 degrees 50 above upper critical temperature is cooled in steel air. True. Which of the following statement are true? Annealing of steel, all of this. The temperature required for full annealing of upper heated steel is the 30 degrees to 50 degrees above lower critical temperature. A full annealing, the hyperheated steel is heated from 30 degrees to 50 degrees above the upper critical temperature and cooled is slowly in the furnace. In process annealing, the hyperheated steel is heated below or close to lower critical temperature then cooled slowly. In a spheroidized process, the steel is heated slightly above the lower critical temperature and then cooled slowly the temperature of 600 degrees centigrade. In hardening process of hyperheated steel is heated from 30 degrees to 50 degrees above upper critical temperature then cooled suddenly the suitable cooling medium. The process of improve the machinability of steel but lower the hardness and tensile strength is dash spheroidizing. The hardness and tensile strength in a austenite stainless steel can be increased by hardening and cold working. The process of used relieving the internal stress previously set up by metal and fluid increasing the machinability of steel is process annealing. When the steel is normalized is all of this. Which of the following statement is wrong? None of this above. Ferrite and perlite makes the steel soft and ductile is the agree. The steel is 875 250 austempering. In the austempering process of heat treatment, austenite changes into dash bayonet. A martensite has needle-like structure and a magnetic is correct. The heat treatment process used for casting is normalizing. The heat treatment process are used for softening hardening steel is tempering. In induction hardening is high frequency. In induction hardening, the depth of hardness controlled by controlling the voltage. Right. In a flame hardening, oxygen flame is used. Yes. Which of the following is case of hardening process? All of this. The process of inducing carbon to carbon steel order give the hard surface is known as carburizing law. The process which carbon and nitrogen both the observed by the metal surface to get into hardness is known as cyaniding. A quenching is not necessary when hardening is done to nitriding. Which of the following generally decreases in the steel after quench hardening is the percentage elongation impaction. So induction of hardening is basically surface hardening process. Annealing improve ductility. Nitriding increase surface hardness. Mart tempering improves hardness of the whole mass, and the normalizing refines grain structure. The machine tool guide away usually hardened by flame hardening. Edge hardening is related to duralumin and aluminum alloy with 11% silicon used in making engine piston by die casting techniques is yes. Duralumin contains 3.5 to 4.5 copper, 0.4 to 0.7 magnesium, 0.4 to 0 manganese rust aluminum. Which of the following statement is incorrect about duralumin? It is lighter than pure aluminum. YLI contains 3.5 to 4.5 copper, 1.2 to 1.7 manganese, 1.8 to 2.3 nickel, 0.6 each of silicon, magnesium, iron, or rust aluminum. The aluminum alloy mainly used for anodizing until structure manufacture is Hindulium. Aluminum has low density and addition of silicon improves its fluidity of therefore castability is correct. The duralumin has better strength YLI at a high temperature fall. The aluminum alloy made by melting aluminum with 2 to 10% magnesium and 1.7 by copper is called a manganesium. The missionability of aluminum increases when is added aluminum, lead and bismuth. The casting ability of aluminum increases when is added aluminum with silicon. The addition of manganese to aluminum improves the corrosion resistance, right? Helium in alloy aluminum and manganese with a small quantity of chromium agree. Brass in alloy of copper and zinc. Cottage brass can be any one of these. Bronze is an alloy of copper and tin. An alloy of copper, tin and zinc is known as gunmetal. Munju metal yellow brass contains 60% copper and 40% zinc. German silver contains 60.45 copper and 35.2 zinc and 5.35 nickel. The addition copper to aluminum possesses maximum strength after heat treatment and age hardening. Correct. The corrosion resistant properties of bronze or brass is called superior. The addition of which of the following improves mixing of copper sulfur? Silicon when added copper improves hardness and strength. Nickel when added copper improves hardness. Beryllium bronze contains 97.75 copper and 2.25 beryllium. Silicon bronze contains 96% copper, 3% silicon and 1% manganese. Manganese bronze contains more copper than silicon bronze. No. Babbitt metal is a tin base Li, which of following is fine gold color and used for imitation jewelry. Aluminum bronze. Admiralty gunmetal contains 88% copper, 10% tin and 2% zinc. And the Babbitt metal contains 88% tin, 4% copper and 8% antimony. German silver contains no silver. Which of the following metals sinks most from the molten stage of solid state? Admirability metal. Tin based white metals are used where the bearings are subjected to large surface wear. The metal suitable for bearing subject to light loads is phosphor bronze. The metal suitable for bearing subject to heavy loads is dash white metal. Phosphor bronze has good wearing qualities and high elasticity. The percentage of phosphor is the phosphor bronze is 0.1. A beryllium bronze has dash both and high yield and high fatigue limit. Aluminum bronze has high resistance of corrosion faults. Manganese bronze has high resistance to corrosion. Monal metal is an ally of nickel and copper. Monal metal contains 68% nickel, 29% copper and 3% other constitution. Incone contains 80% nickel and 40% chromium and 6% iron. Nichrome contains more iron than inconel. Agree. Mnemonic contains percentage of nickel as that of inconel. Same. Which of the following metal is used in making electricity resistance wire of electric furnace and heating elements is the nichrome. In Li, Hestolo and vitamin with temperature Li is high. Which of the following metals is used for nuclear energy is all of this above. Thermosetting plastics are those materials which are formed into shape under heat, pressure and results a permanent hard product. Thermoplastic materials are those materials which do not become hard with application of heat, pressure and no chemical change occurs. Thermosetting plastics are formed by condensing polymerization. Polymer closed metal dash is the thermoplastic. The catalysts are used to accelerate the chemical reaction during the process of polymerization of plastics is true. Thank you.